Hey everybody, welcome back. Before we jump into this episode, a quick reminder. We've now got a weekly newsletter. It's going to have transition tips, information about guests and their episodes, and other interesting information related to transitioning that I come across. You can sign up using the link in the show notes, or you can go directly to the website, transitiondrillpodcast.com. I hope you give it a go. All right, let's get going. Transitioning out of these careers is a given. You've spent years, more than likely decades, immersed in a world of structure, camaraderie, purpose. But as you approach what's coming, there's excitement and uncertainty all mixed together. But no matter where you're at in your journey, one truth stands out. Preparing today defines the success of your tomorrow. But equally important is the legacy that you're going to leave behind. So with that, let's get into round 53 of the tactical transition tips. This time the topic is authentic leadership. For the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away or say less than a year from now, admit what you don't know. For the medium range group, those of you eyeing your transition in about 5 years, talk about lessons learned. And for the long range group, those of you early in your career, you've got over a decade before your transition, be honest, but be empathetic.
When you transition out is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. You know? That's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
Close range group, admit what you don't know. You're standing at a critical juncture. The clock is ticking, and the pressures of transitioning are likely starting to weigh heavy. There's anxiety. Like I said, there's uncertainty. Maybe even a little fear is creeping in. But guess what? That's okay. It's normal. It's part of the process. But here's the thing. One of the most powerful weapons in your arsenal right now is your ability to be honest about what you don't know. But not just with yourself. It's okay to tell others. Now, I know you're thinking, admit what I don't know? Won't that make me look weak or unprepared? Actually, no. If you approach it the right way, it's actually the opposite. Being open about gaps in your knowledge shows self-awareness, shows humility, but most importantly, it shows your willingness to grow. And don't forget, these are the qualities that employers respect. So let's unpack this a little bit. You want to look at what could be called a weakness as a growth opportunity. Think about flipping the narrative. For example, you're in an interview. If you're asked about a skill or an experience you lack, don't dodge the question. Instead, own it and pivot. Say something like, I'm currently working to develop my skills in whatever the question's about. I've been looking at online courses. I've been taking classes. I've been doing whatever it is. And what I'm hoping to do is continue learning and bring that to your organization. But here's the kicker. Don't end it there. Follow it with something like, I want to keep growing. I want to learn more and make your organization better. That kind of response doesn't just acknowledge the gap. It shows your initiative and your adaptability. Employers want to see somebody who's proactive about their development. However, here's the other piece of that puzzle. Don't lie. Or if you're going to, be good at it. Because if they ask you a follow-up question, you better be able to answer them. Here's something that you can do. Think about the jobs that you want. Review the job descriptions. See where you're lacking, or what areas do you feel less confident. Now, once you've identified those areas, map out an actual plan to work on improving them, but actually take the steps towards doing it. And remember, there's no way around it. You're going to face this. It's that question that all of us hate, and it's going to come up in an interview. What are your weaknesses? Use this question as an opportunity to showcase yourself, showcase your self-awareness and your growth. Have answers that are clear, honest, and structured, ready to go. Like I said previously, you can say something like, I'm actively working on X skill, whatever X is. And while I don't have a lot of extensive experience with this in my previous role, I've been doing X, Y, and Z. Whatever that is that you're doing to learn and improve. And like I said previously, never forget to include something to the effect of, I'm excited to continue my growth as part of your team or your company. But before you go getting all angry and beating yourself up about what you don't know, there's a whole lot of what you do know. Remember, we bring a lot of experience and skills to the table. Things like crisis management, leadership, decision-making, especially under pressure. These are all qualities that we've developed in our careers, and they're very important. They're incredibly valuable in almost every civilian industry. And these are those intangibles that make us sought after. But on the other hand, you know what you can't do. You can't let yourself get inside your head. Admitting what you don't know isn't showing weakness. It's about showing the strength of your character as well as your commitment to your growth. When you prepare and practice these responses, you'll go into these interviews feeling a lot more confident. You'll be ready to handle that tough or difficult question because they're coming. Build this mindset to prepare yourself for these interviews. Take every unknown as an opportunity to turn it into your strength. What powers you through your day? If you're like me, coffee's at the top of that list. So take your coffee to a new level with Trident Coffee, a veteran-owned brand that's redefining your coffee experience. Cold brew experts, their instant cold brew is a game changer. And though they roast their beans to excel as a cold brew, trust me, their coffee tastes just as amazing hot. Trident Coffee is also committed to your wellness, with ingredients like organic mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics to help boost your focus and support your immunity. It's made for those who enjoy good coffee and value quality and health. Whether you're looking for that perfect, refreshing cold brew or a smooth cup of hot coffee to fuel your day, Trident Coffee has you covered. Head over to tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your order. Medium range group. Talk about lessons learned. For those of you whose transition is still a few years out, yes, you're not in the thick of it yet. But now's the perfect time to build the foundation of how you're going to tell the story of you. Talking about lessons that you've learned in your career, it's also about creating a legacy at your current organization and growing further as a leader yourself. By reflecting on your journey and sharing your knowledge, you're not only helping those who are going to replace you, you're also preparing yourself for what's coming. So how do we start this? First, you've got to take a step back and you got to reflect on your career. What have been your defining moments? Think about the challenges you've faced, the wins you've gotten, the attaboys, the attagirls. But also, What are the failures? And what invaluable lessons did they teach you? Ask yourself, what situations pushed me to grow as a leader? How did I navigate moments of success and failure? What lessons am I going to carry forward into my next chapter? Take the time to really think about these questions, not just to prepare how you'll tell the stories, but to get a deeper understanding of who you are and who you are in your current role at this point. Creating this clear picture in your head is going to pay dividends when the time comes to tell your story in these future interviews. You've heard me say this before. Take some good notes. Write down those pivotal experiences or insights. I'm willing to bet that you've probably forgotten more than you remember. Think of it as creating your story's QRF. They'll be fresh in your mind and will help you get rid of the ums, uhs, as you're sitting there in these interviews trying to remember. Because trust me, if you don't do this, you're going to remember that good story after you've left the interview. All right, so now that you've pondered, it's now time to share your experiences and what you learned. Put together some type of sit-downs with your teams. You're going to have to take the lead. You're going to have to be the one to talk. You're going to have to be the one to talk first. But start by setting the table. Tell a story that highlights a valuable lesson. Share both success as well as your struggles, or more importantly, any failures that you experienced. Maybe what you can do is plan for presenting a success story and a struggle failure story every time you meet up. Then when you're done telling the story, encourage conversation, ask for questions, offer to let other people tell their experiences. Understand this though, you might not get a lot of questions right away. You're likely not going to get a lot of people sharing their stories, but be consistent. Maybe the first couple times, it's literally only you talking. However, if people come back to the next one, you know it's working, so don't stop. By being open about both your successes and your failures, it's a key to your authenticity. It can be tempting to focus only on the wins, but we all know some of the hardest hitting lessons come from our mistakes. Be vulnerable. Sharing these moments where something went wrong, but then you can pivot and talk about how you fixed it and talk about what you learned. Again, this builds in their trust of you and your credibility. By doing this, though, you get several benefits. You learn more about yourself. You learn what your career has taught you. But you also help those who are coming behind you that are going to be taking over to be better prepared for the job that they're going to be doing because they're learning from you. But the best benefit to you is you get to sharpen your public speaking skills. You have to be a little selfish when you're thinking about this. Remember, you're working on improving your product. You use these get-togethers, these sessions, whatever you want to call them, as opportunities to hone your public speaking skills. You want to make it more challenging? Invite some of your superiors or people from other teams to come and sit in and join in. But if you do this and you do it regularly, you're going to be better prepared for going to networking events, going into these interviews, and other leadership roles that are likely going to be coming in your future. Then, as you get more confident, consider taking these meetups, these meetings on the road. Reach out to other organizations. Reach out to some of your local community groups. See if there's a company that you're interested in working for. Maybe they'll have you come in and present to their employees. I guarantee there's people who want to hear your story. and talking about taking an opportunity to talk about and showcase yourself before you ever go into an interview is extremely beneficial to you. On the other side, don't stress it if you're not great at public speaking. Maybe it's not your strong suit. You're going to have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. The more you practice, the more natural it will become. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be authentic. And one of the most important things you can do is, after every session, ask for feedback from the audience. Ask what was good. Ask what could have been clearer. Ask how you could improve for the next time. Now, you're going to have to put that thick-skinned suit on. Don't take the negatives personally. Lean into them and make improvements. This feedback is going to help you improve, not just your delivery, but also the stories that you choose and the lessons that you share. As a side note, I'm sure you already know this, but plan to spend 15 or 20 minutes after these sessions, because you'll certainly get people coming up who didn't want to talk in front of the group, but they're going to want to talk to you or ask you questions. Finally, think about how this process prepares you for your eventual transition by reflecting on and sharing your lessons. You're essentially creating your career narrative. You'll have a polished ability to articulate your strengths and have a variety of impactful stories and a track record of leadership that's going to set you apart. Remember, the stories you're going to share are opportunities to better prepare yourself for tomorrow, but they'll also help your teams be that much better as well. Get comfortable sharing your experiences so that when the time comes, you go into interviews or presentations, you've got them nailed, you're polished, and you come off as extremely professional. You ever feel like your body just isn't keeping up like it used to? We all know that life doesn't slow down, and sometimes the grind catches up. Lower energy, lagging focus, or a dip in motivation. Human Performance TRT understands the need to regain your edge. As a veteran and first responder-owned company, they're not just another telehealth provider. They take a full spectrum approach to your health, crafting personalized plans that go beyond hormones. There's no locked-in subscriptions, no hassles. Everything is delivered directly to your door, so you can stay focused on what really matters. Also, if you're already on a hormone replacement program, you can switch over seamlessly with recent blood work. There's no extra tests required if your labs are under 6 months old. So are you ready to optimize your health? Visit hptrt.com and see what personalized care looks like. And don't forget to use the promo code TDP for 10% off your program. Long range group. Be honest, but be empathetic. Those of you in the early stages of your career, the habits you build now are going to shape the leader you're going to become. They're going to lay the groundwork for a smooth transition down the road. For many of us, we grew up in eras where our parents, our teachers, our coaches, society in general, didn't care about our feelings. You got truth delivered with a sledgehammer. And then we got into the military or first responder careers. And if we screwed up, and we did, just like younger generations did and do, our sergeants and our lieutenants, our training officers, did not think twice about how they told us we screwed up. And we took it, and we didn't complain about it. There's probably some of you crying right about now, thinking back on that trauma. But seriously, honesty is essential. It just has to be paired with empathy, especially today. Don't try to deny it. Don't try to fight it. We are in a more how I feel centric time, and it's going to continue that way. Learn to work with it. Let's start by talking about emotional intelligence. I think I actually can feel some of you rolling your eyes right now. This isn't just a buzzword. It truly is the cornerstone of effective leadership. Emotional intelligence helps you navigate those tough conversations, but allows you to connect better with your peers and your subordinates, and it builds trust. Your goal is to balance honesty with caring. Imagine you need to address a teammate who's not performing to their best. Instead of coming down hard, or worse, just simply avoiding the conversation altogether, try framing your feedback with a little empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you got the information delivered the same way you were about to deliver it? This isn't about being touchy-feely. This isn't about, it's having empathy to be able to put yourself in their shoes. You can be direct, but send it in a manner that values the person who's receiving it, their perspective, not just what you want to get off your chest. You can start today. Whether you're giving feedback to a subordinate, to a peer, somebody junior on your team, and this is the really big or even a superior. Consider how they need to receive the information. Before you fire that missile, this is going to strengthen your emotional intelligence by taking that moment and thinking about how the person needs to receive it. And trust me, being able to talk to someone and make them believe that you care is going to be invaluable when you get to the civilian world. But in all reality, it's going to make you and your career better today as well. What you need to do is learn to adapt. Not everybody responds to feedback the same way. Pay attention to how people react to different communication styles. Obviously, cherish those who prefer straightforward honesty. I like to call it, don't used car salesman me. Just give it to me straight. However, there are those who respond better with encouragement, maybe a gentler touch. You can't fight this. Remember, it's your job to reach them. It's not their job to accept you. So my advice would be, without getting into any potential HR issues, but keep some type of notes for yourself on the people you deal with. I would strongly encourage not to create an actual file, because I'm sure there's probably some organizations are going to have rules about the employees or the peers being able to view these files. If you can, simply remember it. But for each person that you interact with, especially as a superior, when you give feedback, make a note of how the person responded, what worked, what didn't work. Then learn to tailor your approach to that person. Again, not everybody's going to be the same. The other side of this coin is giving feedback is easy, but receiving it is more important. You have to learn to accept constructive criticism with an open mind. And this takes a lot of practice. It doesn't come natural to us. But the key is to separate the feedback from your ego. You have to remember, you don't know everything, and it's not always my way or the highway. Your peers and subordinates need to feel comfortable with you. They need to be able to speak truth to power. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Even if their feedback stings, you need to resist the urge to get defensive. Instead, think about what they're telling you and look for ways to improve. If you can't tell, I've switched from giving critiques to receiving them. Again, learning how to handle critiques is going to make you better at delivering them. When you receive negative feedback, use it as a roadmap for your improvement. For example, your boss tells you that you need to work on your delegating skills. Don't brush it off. Again, I get it. We're type A's. No one can do it as well as we can. However, what you should do is look for opportunities to delegate tasks and then learn from those processes. But at the same time, that doesn't mean taking the attitude of, screw it, and pawning off all your work to other people. Another thing is, take the feedback you received today and apply it to your long-term goals. Create a personal development plan that focuses on skills you want to build over your career. If you're already good at something, you can maybe put that on the back burner. However, if there's something pointed out to you that you're not as adept at, make that an immediate goal for improvement. Review your plan each year. Evaluate how you've progressed. Ask others for feedback, not just your bosses. Get it from your peers, get it from your subordinates, get it from coworkers. And again, seek to make improvements where it's necessary. I understand that being honest but being empathetic isn't the easiest thing in the world, especially in the environments we come from. Hell, bluntness is sometimes praised, but that won't work for you in the long term. Moving forward from 2025, that's not going to work. Here's some suggestions, though, how you can get better. Start giving honest but kind feedback. Use low-stakes situations like talking to a peer during a team discussion, or ask for feedback about you. Think of it as an opportunity to build relationships with the people around you rather than building conflict. If you catch yourself getting defensive when they give you this feedback, take a pause and remind yourself that it's just feedback. It doesn't do anything to you. But if you ignore it, you will fail yourself in the long run. So remember, being honest and empathetic isn't just a workplace skill. It's a life skill. Start developing your emotional intelligence, your resilience, and your adaptability. It's going to pay off more than you realize, not just for the remainder of this career, but also when you move into the civilian world. All right, we're in the final turn. Let's head for home. Close range group. Admit what you don't know. Being vulnerable isn't a weakness. It's an opportunity to show your self-awareness. Medium range group. Talk about the lessons you learned. Your experiences hold power. Share what you've learned to not just prepare for your future, but to help those who will be here when you leave. In long range group, be honest, but be empathetic. Balance directness with compassion. You'll build trust and respect with the people you work with. That's going to carry through this career and into your next. As always, thank you for listening. However you get the podcast, I appreciate you listening, watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Please follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts at, and please leave a rating. Also, if you could, I'd really appreciate it if you could share it with anyone that you think would benefit or enjoy it. And until next time, remember, being a good person reveals itself through connections, which helps you prepare for the journey of your transition. And that's the power of authentic leadership.